Alexei Kovalev. Alexei Kovalev might be the most purely skilled player the NHL ever labeled inconsistent. Drafted 15th overall by the New York Rangers in 1991, he became the first Russian player ever drafted in the first round. From the start, his hands, vision, and creativity stood out. He could stick handle in a phone booth, thread passes through impossible lanes, and make even veteran defensemen look foolish. When Kovalev was on, he wasn't just good, he was unguardable. He played a huge role in the Rangers' 1994 Stanley Cup win, chipping in clutch playoff performances at just 21 years old. Later, in Pittsburgh and Montreal, Kovalev became known as a player who could take over a game single-handedly. However, that was not the only reputation that was built around the Russian winger. Kovalev was often called a lazy player. This seems very surprising, especially when you look at his career numbers. He played over 1,300 games, scored 430 goals, and put up 1,029 points. He also earned NHL All-Star honors multiple times and was a fan favorite in Montreal, where his flair fit perfectly with the franchise's history of dazzling wingers. Part of why he's underrated is that his creativity didn't always fit into the rigid North-South NHL systems of the 90s and early 2000s. Kovalev played the game like an artist, and in a league built for grinders that sometimes made him misunderstood. One night, he'd be the best player on the ice. The next, he might disappear from the score sheet entirely, a trait that unfairly overshadowed the sheer brilliance of his skill set. Teammates often said that in practice, Kovalev could control the puck as if it were tied to his stick. In a career full of highlight reel moments, his greatest legacy might be as the ultimate reminder that hockey isn't just about results, it's also about beauty. Rod Brind'Amour. Rod Brind'Amour's career is a masterclass in consistency, leadership, and work ethic. Yet you rarely hear his name mentioned in any GOAT conversation. Drafted 9th overall by the Saints, Louis Blues in 1988, Brind'Amour quickly established himself as one of the NHL's premier two-way centers. He could score, shut down the opposition's top line, dominate in the face-off circle, and outwork just about anyone on the ice. Nicknamed Rod the Bod for his legendary fitness, Brind'Amour was the type of player coaches trusted in any situation. Whether it was killing a penalty in the dying seconds or protecting a one-goal lead, he delivered. His offensive record is also quite impressive, with 452 goals, 732 assists, and over 1,100 points across more than 1,400 games. His defining career moment came in 2006, when, as captain of the Carolina Hurricanes, he led the franchise to its first Stanley Cup. Rod's influence went far beyond the score sheet. He set the tone in the locker room and on the ice with an unrelenting commitment to preparation and detail. Teammates often said if you weren't working as hard as Rod, you were doing something wrong. Despite his incredible career, Brind'Amour was often overshadowed by flashier offensive stars of his era. He never had a 100-point season, never won a scoring title, and played in smaller markets for much of his career, which kept him out of the spotlight. But those who played with or against him knew his value was immeasurable. After retiring, Brind'Amour transitioned into coaching and has carried the same intensity behind the bench, turning the Hurricanes into a perennial contender. His dual legacy as an elite player and respected coach only strengthens the case that Rod Brind'Amour is one of the most underrated figures the NHL has ever seen. Adam Oates. Adam Oates is one of the most criminally underrated superstars in NHL history. Often referred to as the assist machine, Oates racked up 1,079 assists in just 1,300 NHL games, a record that remains in the top 10 of all time in the league's history, even today. His legacy as a playmaker is right up there with the best. However, he never did stack up goal-scoring totals like other players of his generation. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Jaromir Jagr did, and it is most likely the reason why he is not appreciated as much as he should be. What makes his story even more remarkable is how it began. Oates was undrafted, signed as a free agent by the Detroit Red Wings in 1985 after a standout college career. From the moment he hit the NHL, his vision and passing ability stood out. He made stars out of scorers like Brett Hull, Cam Neely, and Peter Bondra by delivering passes with perfect timing and precision. Oates' style wasn't about speed or brute force. It was about reading the game 2 steps ahead of everyone else. As his career progressed, he evolved into more than just an offensive catalyst. He became a reliable two-way center, winning key faceoffs and contributing on the penalty kill, proving his value in every zone. Despite all of this, Oates was often overshadowed by higher-profile names. He never won a Stanley Cup as a player, which hurt his recognition, and his understated personality kept him out of the spotlight. Still, his impact on his teammates and the game itself was enormous. Hull once credited Oates for some of the best seasons of his career. When Adam Oates was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2012, it was long overdue recognition for a player whose brilliance often flew under the radar. Quietly, he was one of the smartest and most consistent forces the NHL has ever seen. Craig Ramsay. Craig Ramsay's career is not one of flashy offense, but being one of the most reliable defensive forwards the NHL has ever seen. Drafted 19th overall by the Buffalo Sabres in 1971, Ramsay spent his entire 14-season stint with the team, becoming a model of consistency and commitment. He was remarkably durable, playing 776 consecutive games, at the time, the 4th longest Ironman streak in NHL history. Ramsay rarely made mistakes, reading plays perfectly, breaking up rushes, and turning defense into quiet, efficient offense. He was no slouch offensively either, topping 60 points in multiple seasons. But his true value came without the puck. In 1985, Ramsay won the Selke Trophy as the league's top defensive forward, cementing his reputation as a shutdown specialist. One of his most unique feats came in the 1973-74 season, when he played all 78 games without taking a single penalty, an almost unthinkable achievement for a forward tasked with defensive responsibilities. Despite his contributions, Ramsay never became a household name. Playing in Buffalo, away from the media spotlight, meant his defensive mastery didn't get the recognition it deserved. Yet ask teammates and coaches, and they'll tell you he was the kind of player championship teams are built on. After retiring, Ramsay enjoyed a long coaching career, further proving his hockey IQ. While his name might not appear on scoring leaderboards, Craig Ramsay remains one of the most brilliant players in NHL history. Ron Francis. It is mind-boggling that a player like Ron Francis, one of the most productive players to ever step foot on the rink, is not a common name in the GOAT debates. The numbers alone are staggering. 1,731 career points, 5th all-time, and 1,249 assists, second only to Wayne Gretzky. He reached those heights without ever scoring more than 32 goals in a season, relying on vision, positioning, and playmaking over flash. Drafted 4th overall by the Hartford Whalers in 1981, Francis spent over 2 decades as the ultimate two-way center, blending offensive brilliance with defensive responsibility. He later won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the early 1990s, often serving as the steadying presence alongside Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. 3 Lady Byng trophies for sportsmanship and a Selke Trophy as the league's best defensive forward, a rare combination of honors that speaks to his complete game. A big reason for Ron being underrated is his personality and circumstances. Francis was soft-spoken, avoided the spotlight, and spent much of his career in small markets like Hartford and Carolina. Even during Pittsburgh's cup runs, the media focus centered on Lemieux and Jagr, leaving Francis's role underappreciated. When he retired in 2004, Francis ranked among the top 5 in nearly every major offensive category, yet his name still doesn't come up as often as others with similar resumes. Francis was a master of control, dictating the pace, making the right play, and finding ways to win without ever needing the spotlight. Patrick Elias. Patrick Elias spent his entire 20-year NHL career with the New Jersey Devils, quietly becoming the most productive player in the franchise's history. Drafted 51st overall in 1994, Elias wasn't the flashiest forward, but his intelligence, versatility, and knack for clutch performances made him a cornerstone of the Devils' success. Elias holds New Jersey's all-time records for goals: 408, assists, 617, and points, 1,025. He is a two-time Stanley Cup champion, playing a key role in the Devils' 2000 and 2003 titles. In the 2000 playoffs, he led the team with 20 points, including a memorable game-winning goal in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals to send New Jersey to the Cup final. While the Devils were known for their defensive system under coach Jacques Lemaire, Elias thrived offensively despite the constraints, showing that skill and creativity could flourish within a structured game plan. His ability to play wing or center, contribute on both special teams, and deliver in big moments made him invaluable. Elias was a three-time All-Star and represented the Czech Republic in multiple international tournaments, winning Olympic bronze in 2006 and World Championship gold in 2001. Despite his numbers and longevity, Elias rarely got the league-wide recognition of his peers. Playing in a defense-first system and a smaller market meant his elite play often went under the radar. Yet for 2 decades, Patrick Elias was the quiet heartbeat of the Devils and one of the NHL's most overlooked stars. Theo Fleury. At just 5 feet 6 inches, Theo Fleury entered the NHL in an era when size still dominated and proved that heart, skill, and sheer determination could beat any opponent. Drafted 166th overall by the Calgary Flames in 1987, Fleury quickly became one of the league's most dynamic and fearless forwards. Fleury won the Stanley Cup as a rookie in 1989, bringing relentless energy and timely scoring to a veteran Flames roster. Over his career, he recorded 455 goals and 1,088 points in just over 1,000 games, finishing with a point-per-game average despite facing constant physical punishment from larger opponents. He was more than just a scorer. Fleury played with fire, often agitating opponents while driving his team's offense. His speed and creativity made him dangerous on every shift, and his willingness to battle in the tough areas earned him respect across the league. Internationally, he captured gold with Team Canada at the 2002 Olympics, adding to his legacy. Yet Fleury's career was also marked by personal battles, including struggles with substance abuse and the trauma he later revealed from his childhood, making his brilliance on the ice even more commendable. Unfortunately, he ended up playing his prime years in Canadian markets outside of the media powerhouses and did not get the recognition he deserved. For fans who watched him play, Fleury was an inspiration, a reminder that greatness in hockey isn't measured in inches, but in heart. Bobby Smith. Bobby Smith entered the NHL with high expectations after winning the 1978 Memorial Cup and the CHL Player of the Year award, and boy, did he deliver. Drafted first overall by the Minnesota North Stars in 1978, Smith brought a rare combination of size, vision, and playmaking skill that made him one of the most complete centers of his era. He won the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year in 1979 with 74 points and quickly became the North Stars' offensive engine, leading them to the 1981 Stanley Cup Final. In 1983, he was traded to the Montreal Canadiens, where his steady production and playoff poise helped the Habs reach 2 more finals and win the Stanley Cup in 1986. Smith was never a pure goal scorer, but his ability to set up teammates and control the pace of play made him invaluable. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches, he used his frame to protect the puck and create space, often wearing down defenders over the course of a game. He finished his career with 1,036 points in 1,077 games, remarkably consistent production in a defense-tight 1980s and early 90s NHL. Despite his numbers and postseason success, Smith rarely gets the same attention as the flashier stars of his time. He didn't chase headlines or play in high-scoring systems, and his calm, measured game meant he was easy to overlook. Bobby Smith was a quiet star, the kind who made winning hockey look effortless. J.S. Giguère. Jean-Sébastien Giguère's career is defined by one of the most gargantuan, standout playoff performances in NHL history. Drafted 13th overall by the Hartford Whalers in 1995, Giguère found his footing with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, where his calm, technically sound style made him a rock in net. In the 2003 playoffs, Giguère carried Anaheim on an improbable run to the Stanley Cup Final. Facing heavy favorites in every round, he posted an insane .945 save percentage and recorded 5 shutouts, including a triple overtime win in Game 1 of the final. Even though the Ducks fell to New Jersey in 7 games, Giguère's heroics earned him the Conn Smythe Trophy, making him one of the only players in NHL history to win playoff MVP on a losing team. 4 years later, Giggy led Anaheim back to the final, this time finishing the job and winning the Stanley Cup in 2007. Giguère's steady presence behind a strong Ducks defense cemented his reputation as a big-game goaltender. He finished his career with 262 wins, a .913 save percentage, and a legacy of being an immovable object in high-intensity situations. Despite these accolades, Giguère never quite received the same recognition as other elite goalies of his era. As always, offensive stars dominated the headlines and, as a result, kept Giggy's profile lower than it should have been. For Ducks fans and those who remember that magical 2003 run, J.S. Giguère will always be the definition of a goaltender who rose to the moment when it mattered most. Curtis Joseph. Known to fans as Cujo, Curtis Joseph carved out one of the most respected goaltending careers in NHL history despite never being drafted. His nickname, a nod to the Stephen King novel and movie, became iconic, especially with his snarling dog mask designs. Joseph broke into the NHL with the St. Louis Blues in 1989 and quickly made a name for himself with his lightning-fast reflexes and fearless style. Over a 19-season career, he played for several teams, most notably the Toronto Maple Leafs, and became known for stealing games single-handedly. His playoff performances in Toronto, where he backstopped the Leafs to 2 conference finals, cemented his status as a big-game goalie. By the time he retired in 2009, Joseph had 454 career wins, the most by any goaltender who never won a Stanley Cup. He also ranks among the top in career saves, a testament to his ability to withstand heavy workloads season after season. What made Cujo underrated was that, despite his numbers and highlight reel saves, he was often overshadowed by contemporaries like Martin Brodeur, Patrick Roy, and Dominik Hasek. Playing for teams that weren't always championship caliber meant his brilliance sometimes went unnoticed outside of his local markets. Still, for fans and players who saw him night after night, Curtis was more than just a flashy mask and a catchy nickname. He was a fierce competitor whose career was built on resilience, consistency, and a knack for making impossible saves look routine. Ultimately, the Stanley Cup always evaded Cujo's reach, and he ended up being overshadowed by peers with similar records who had gotten their hands on the big one. Ray Whitney. A career built on vision, creativity, and hockey IQ, Ray Whitney thrived long after most players his size had retired. Listed at just 5 feet 10 inches and 180 pounds, Whitney entered the NHL as a 23rd round pick in the 1991 draft, back when that many rounds even existed, and faced long odds of making an impact. Over 21 seasons, Whitney became one of the league's most reliable playmakers, earning himself the nickname of the Wizard. He topped the 60-point mark 11 times, recorded 1,064 career points, and was still producing at nearly a point-per-game pace in his late 30s. His ability to see plays develop before anyone else, combined with his deceptive shot, made him dangerous well into the dead puck era. Whitney's defining moment came in 2006, when he helped lead the Carolina Hurricanes to their first Stanley Cup. His playoff run that year showcased his trademark patience and ability to control the tempo, earning him a reputation as a player who could elevate his game when it mattered most. Despite his numbers and longevity, Whitney rarely got the spotlight. Playing in smaller markets like Florida, Columbus, and Carolina meant his consistency often went underappreciated by the wider hockey audience. Yet ask anyone and they'll tell you, the Wizard was a nightmare to defend. Not because of size or speed, but because you could never predict what he'd do next. Joe Mullen. Joe Mullen's path to the NHL was anything but typical. Growing up in the tough Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of New York City, far from the traditional hockey hotbeds, Mullen learned the game on roller skates before ever stepping on the ice. Despite his unconventional start, he became one of the most productive American-born forwards in NHL history. Undrafted and undersized at 5 feet 9 inches, Mullen relied on intelligence, quick hands, and a lethal shot to carve out a 16-season career. He became the first American player to score 500 goals and register 1,000 points, finishing with 1,063 points in 1,062 games, an incredible show of efficiency and consistency. Mullen won 3 Stanley Cups, 2 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and 1 with the Calgary Flames, playing key roles on both teams. He was twice a Lady Byng Trophy winner for his clean, disciplined style of play, proving that skill and sportsmanship could go hand in hand. What made Mullen underrated was that, even with his historic milestones, he was rarely the face of the franchises he played for. Sharing ice time with legends like Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and Lanny McDonald will do that to any player who played on their teams. Yet teammates and coaches knew his value. A clutch scorer, a leader by example, and one of the most complete wingers of his era. From street hockey in New York to the Hall of Fame, Joe Mullen's career is proof that greatness can come from the most unlikely beginnings. Butch Goring. Butch Goring was never the flashiest player in the rink, but his impact on the ice was undeniable and, in many ways, historic. Known for his speed, hockey smarts, and two-way play, Goring carved out a 16-year NHL career split between the Los Angeles Kings, New York Islanders, and Boston Bruins. He is perhaps best remembered as the final piece of the New York Islanders dynasty. Acquired from the Kings at the 1980 trade deadline, Goring immediately solidified the team's depth at center and played a crucial role in the Isles winning 4 consecutive Stanley Cups from 1980 to 1983. In 1981, he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP, recording 20 points in 18 games while excelling in shutdown assignments. Over his career, Goring amassed 375 goals and 888 points, numbers that would be higher had he played in a more offensively explosive era. His versatility made him invaluable. He could kill penalties, play a shutdown role, or chip in key goals when needed. One quirky claim to fame: Goring is often credited with popularizing the helmet in the NHL, wearing one long before it became mandatory. His distinctive look and relentless work ethic made him a fan favorite, even if he wasn't a household name outside of his team's markets. Though often overshadowed by the Hall of Fame talent around him, Butch Goring's contributions were the kind that win championships: steady, selfless, and always in the right place at the right time. Dave Andreychuk. Dave Andreychuk's NHL career was a masterclass in patience, positioning, and longevity. At 6 feet 4 inches with soft hands, Andreychuk wasn't the fastest skater, but he built a Hall of Fame resume by mastering the art of scoring from in close, especially on the power play. Over 23 seasons with Buffalo, Toronto, New Jersey, Boston, Colorado, and Tampa Bay, Andreychuk scored 640 goals, still the most ever by a left winger, and racked up 1,338 points. His 274 career power play goals remain an NHL record, a testament to his net front dominance and ability to find space in the chaos. Despite those astounding numbers, Andreychuk often flies under the radar. He never had a flashy style or gaudy single-season totals that drew headlines. Instead, he was remarkably steady, hitting the 20-goal mark 19 times and producing offense year after year without much fanfare. The crowning moment of his career came late. After years of playoff heartbreak, Andreychuk captained the Tampa Bay Lightning to their first Stanley Cup in 2004 at age 40, finally lifting the trophy after 1,597 games, the longest wait for a cup in NHL history at the time. While many great scorers are remembered for highlight reel goals, Andreychuk's legacy is built on reliability and results. He didn't just score, he scored when it mattered, doing the dirty work in front of the net that championship teams rely on. Dave Andreychuk wasn't loud, but his career spoke volumes. Jere Lehtinen. Jere Lehtinen was the kind of player every coach dreams about. Smart, disciplined, and relentlessly dependable. Spending his entire 14-year NHL career with the Dallas Stars, Lehtinen quietly became one of the best defensive forwards of his era, while still producing offensively. A native of Finland, Lehtinen arrived in the NHL in 1995 and quickly established himself as a premier two-way winger. He won the Selke Trophy as the league's best defensive forward 3 times, 1998, 1999, 2003, and was a finalist 3 other times. His attention to detail was unmatched. Perfect positioning, active stick work, and an ability to shut down the league's top scorers without taking penalties. While defense was his calling card, Lehtinen could score as well. He had 7 20-goal seasons, topping out at 33 in 2002-03, and finished his career with 514 points. In the 1999 playoffs, his timely goals and defensive work were crucial to Dallas winning their first Stanley Cup, though it was Modano, Hull, and Belfour who grabbed most of the headlines. Off the ice, Lehtinen was known for his humility and professionalism, never chasing the spotlight. He represented Finland in 4 Olympics, winning 3 medals, and was beloved in his home country for his leadership. In a league that often celebrates flash over substance, Lehtinen's greatness was rooted in the little things: the smart read, the perfect backcheck, the selfless play. He didn't just make his teammates better, he made winning possible.